Have you ever watched someone underestimated, mocked, and dismissed only to rise in a way that leaves everyone speechless?
A struggling single dad, a veteran who carried scars no one could see, stood before a courtroom where even the judge smirked at his presence.
No one believed in him. No one thought he stood a chance.
But by the time the truth came out, the judge's smirk was gone, the courtroom was silent, and real respect, was earned. Stay with me until the end, because this story will remind you why you should never measure someone's worth by what you think you see. The courtroom buzzed with tension that morning. Lawyers in press suits shuffled their files, reporters adjusted cameras, and whispers filled the gallery. In the middle of it all stood Daniel Brooks, a single dad and decorated Marine veteran. His uniform was gone now, replaced with a modest shirt and worn shoes. He carried a thick binder, dog-eared and packed with handwritten notes.
This wasn't just another case for Daniel. It was his life.
His ex-wife's wealthy family had hired one of the most ruthless attorneys in the city, aiming to take custody of his 10-year-old daughter, Lily.
For them, Daniel wasn't fit.
He was a broke veteran working 2 jobs, struggling to keep food on the table. But for Daniel, Lily was his reason to breathe, the little girl who held his hand at night when nightmares from combat kept him awake.
The bailiff announced, "All rise," and Judge Reynolds walked in.
Known for his sharp tongue and impatience, the judge quickly scanned the room. His eyes landed on Daniel. "No attorney representing you, Mr. Brooks?" the judge asked, his tone laced with sarcasm.
Daniel cleared his throat. "No, Your Honor. I'll be representing myself."
A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The opposing lawyer smirked. Judge Reynolds arched a brow and chuckled under his breath.
"Representing yourself? Son, this isn't a neighborhood debate. Custody law is complicated. You sure you know what you're doing?"
Daniel straightened his back, the same way he had on the battlefield. "With all due respect, sir, I've faced worse odds before.
My daughter's future is worth the fight."
The judge leaned back in his chair, smirk widening.
"Well, this ought to be entertaining."
For the next hour, the opposing attorney fired off polished arguments, backed by legal precedents and expert testimony.
He painted Daniel as unstable, unqualified, and unfit. Each point felt like a knife, but Daniel stayed calm, scribbling notes, waiting.
When it was his turn, Daniel rose slowly, binder in hand.
"Your Honor,"
he began, his voice steady, "I may not wear a suit or have a law degree, but I know what's right. And I've spent the last 6 months studying every law book I could afford, every case I could find. Because this," he placed a hand over his chest, "this isn't just about me.
It's about a father's love for his daughter."
The courtroom fell still. Judge Reynolds tapped his pen, unimpressed.
"We'll see if your self-taught education is worth anything, Mr. Brooks. Proceed."
And proceed he did. What started as mockery soon turned into something no one expected.
Daniel's binder opened like a soldier laying out battle plans. Each tab was marked, each statute highlighted.
He cross-examined witnesses with precision, exposing contradictions the seasoned attorney had overlooked. When Lily's school counselor testified against him, Daniel respectfully presented records of every parent-teacher meeting he had attended, letters praising his dedication, and notes Lily had written saying, "My dad makes me feel safe." The opposing lawyer objected, but Daniel countered with exact statutes, page, paragraph, and precedent, spoken as confidently as if he'd spent years in law school. The judge's smirk began to fade.
"Where exactly did you learn all this?" Judge Reynolds finally asked.
Daniel paused, his eyes firm. "In the Marines, sir, we're taught to adapt and overcome. I didn't have the money for a lawyer, but I had knights, discipline, and a daughter worth fighting for.
That's all the motivation I needed to learn."
The courtroom was silent.
For the first time, even the opposing lawyer looked uneasy.
Daniel closed his binder with a soft thud. "I may not be perfect, but I'm present.
Every scraped knee, every nightmare, every science project, I've been there.
And no degree, no paycheck, no fancy words can outweigh love and consistency. That's what my daughter deserves." For a long moment, Judge Reynolds just stared at him. The same man who had chuckled at Daniel's binder now adjusted his glasses, clearly shaken.
Finally, he cleared his throat.
This court finds that custody shall remain with the father, Mr. Brooks.
Case dismissed. The gavel struck. Gasps filled the room.
Lily, sitting in the back with a guardian, ran forward and threw herself into Daniel's arms.
"You did it, Daddy," she cried.
Tears welled in Daniel's eyes as he held her close.
"No, sweetheart. We did it."
Judge Reynolds leaned over his bench. His voice softened, carrying none of the earlier mockery. "Mr. Brooks, you may not have a law degree, but you've taught this court something important today.
Never underestimate a father's love."
As Daniel walked out of that courtroom, his daughter's hand in his, people didn't see just a struggling single dad anymore. They saw a veteran, a fighter, and whether in uniform or not, a man who refused to surrender.